All right, so we'll try not to spend too much time, but I can't make any guarantees. This video today is going to be about optimism. And I'm personally optimistic. And I believe that you should be too. And what am I referring to with optimism? Now, I believe in morale. I think that's the thing. I think generally when a geographical area is on net, let's say in a good spot, that does not mean that everybody is thriving, every single individual is thriving, but on average, people are doing well for themselves. I think that's reflective of the entertainment as well. Now, we can talk about what came first, the chicken or the egg. I'm just saying, for the sake of this video, that when I believe that culturally, in things certainly outside of politics, with stuff like entertainment, when it's in a decent spot, generally speaking, the people are doing well. Okay. Now, there had been an extended period of time, let's say, mid 2010s, where you start to see a downtrend of material and the quality of it. And really, I think it was a combination of so many different things. It was the phenomena of the Trump situation, which brought a lot of people that were entertainers out of the shadows, and they felt that it was their duty to speak out. And it began to turn a lot of people off because obviously half of the voting population is not necessarily aligning themselves with them. See, once upon a time, Hollywood had rather a mystique to it. If you wanted to find out who they supported like, let's say in politics, it was buried in some article. It was buried in some, when I say article, I mean like an interview or something like that. They weren't really wearing it on their sleeves, but you had simultaneously, while you had the Trump phenomena happening, you also had the rise of social media, more active users, yada, yada. And what they felt, as I mentioned before, is that they had to take it upon themselves to express their gripes. And then that turned into less of, well, I can separate the two. They used to be able to do that. Then it became, well, I now need to utilize this art, this entertainment. It is that I got support. Of course, if you're an entertainer that has that much money or that much support, you're often being supported in some way, shape, or form by people that are differing from you politically, right? And they said, screw all that. We're going to start using the platform it is that was given to us by way of being supported by folks that are their ideological enemies, or they feel are their ideological enemies, and they're going to then beat their audience over the head and use that platform to tell folks how much they suck. That's what happened, okay? Now, the art that you guys know and love started to suffer because of it. Even like there was a time, y'all remember there was a time, 80s and 90s, the 80s obviously being before I was kind of there, but definitely going in the 90s, where even like what was considered a bad movie was somewhat enjoyable, right? Every one of you probably right now have a movie that people see as a bad movie, but it was you like it or it was enjoyable. Those have been completely gone because oftentimes now it's not just bad just for the sake of being bad anymore. But that just goes to show that it was different. I think human like, not maybe from the technology side, but certainly from general affairs, right? Human affairs peaked in the 90s in America, right? It's been downhill ever since then. 2000s, early 2000s, you can make the argument it was fine, but then we started going in the later 2000s, especially in mid 2010s. It all went. I mean, we're down maybe it's not a downhill; it's more of a cliff that we're just free falling at this point. But either way, the material isn't good, and I get it. You got various brands, for example, with entertainment that you all support that have gone to the crapper. Now, coming on the other side of the ISOM #1 campaign, I was always optimistic about the ISOM campaign. I was always optimistic and proud of the work because I don't do something half-tailed. If I'm going to put my name to something like that, I was not going to half-tail it. I went and did the best of what I could, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in order to make it happen. And big shout out to all of the supporters because you guys went out there and bought it. And thankfully, which is what it's about, that's more important, that most people, 99% of the people that got it thoroughly enjoyed that and they're satisfied customers. To me, that's what it's about. And that, or now being on the other side of this, excuse me, but being on the other side of this, like, and now seeing that there's even other people that are seeing far more success than maybe what they had in the past with their kind of alternative works. We've talked about this, like, you know, Shad and Critical Drinker and all the people in Comics Gate, and you see all these folks who are creating something different, but it being very, very lucrative, I think, is what we're talking about, because it being lucrative means more investments. And that's the part that you shouldn't lose sight of. It's one thing to make something, you know, sell a lot of it, but the return investment is so important, while also being able to grab those funds in order to continue this. You have bigger ideas, things that you can do that are at a larger scale, and the people that benefit the most are the customers. When I see folks turn out the way that they did, now take that into consideration, man. This was not some slouch project that we did with ISOM. Just want to just understand the like, with over 42,000 customers, and you know, we had over 49,000 or like 49,000 orders that went out. You had a lot of people that obviously had multiple orders. Definitely when we not re-released, but we released some more stuff later in the campaign. But over 42,000 unique purchasers. That is a significant amount of people that are willingly reaching in their pockets voluntarily and then paying for a product. That is huge for a company that just came out of the gate. Now, I build a rapport with my audience. I understand that entertainment that I've been dropping over the past years have been, you know, I've never let my audience down, not with music, not with anything that I've done. So me being a creator before and businessman before, you start to get a baked in audience, but we couldn't have done it on that alone, right? So many folks saying this is the first comic book that they had got. Like, that's huge, right? You're bringing more people to the hobby, and that's what really we haven't seen in comics in a long time. In a long time, is people that are wanting to get in that are new, okay? So for me, that meant a lot, that I could be that introduction for so many people. And then that's going to assist other people that are maybe already in this industry doing great work. But when they come out in numbers like that, comparatively speaking, supporting what would be under any, like whether you do it the, like Comic-Con, they do the numbers that everybody, the year-end numbers that everybody refers to when they look at the state of the comic book industry, right? We outsold, and it's not even close, any graphic novel that is considered an actual American graphic novel, obviously not a manga, but American graphic novel. We outsold all of them by far of what they did last year. Now, I doubt that they put us on the following, this end of the year. I doubt that they put us on the list, which they should, but I doubt they will in terms of how many we sold. Go look at those numbers yourself. We talked about this before, but that's a reason to be optimistic. It ain't about being optimistic about me. You can remove me from the equation. Let's pretend I'm just a face with no name. It doesn't matter. The point still stands. People came out and supported a new project that is made by people, a person that does not hate them. Owned by a person that does not hate them. So I look at the state of the industry, and yeah, it may have to get worse before it gets better. And that's not just with comics, it's with music, that's with entertainment, movies, and all that stuff. But you got people that are giving it a shot, not just giving it a shot, that's in success. And as more people, because it's hard to like rewire yourself to do that. It was very difficult for me. When I said I am not buying, going forward, any like new issues of comic books, that was unreal for me, for Marvel and DC. That was unreal. Like that. People that follow my channel, you know that I was going to the comic book shop every single Wednesday, spending literal hundreds of dollars, right? Staying up to date, reading these books, doing reviews, doing all that stuff. And then I said that I just can't do this anymore. And that was a very difficult thing for me to do. But if I could do it with that, people are doing it in other avenues that they, let's say industries that they support or are into, whatever subculture that it is that they belong to. So rewiring yourself, which I think is what obviously has to happen, but you're seeing more of it where people are saying, I'm checking out of that. That's a difficult thing to do. When you've been supporting something for as long as you've been supporting something, like whether it be a brand that you've recognized since your childhood, it's very difficult to say, you know what, I'm done with this. But this is the importance of having good competitive alternatives, because, these people still like that industry. Well, if you're going to reroute their focus, if you feel that it's infested, you have to produce something and present something that's comparable. And that's what we have now more than ever. Good competitive alternatives. And now people are starting to rewire themselves in their minds to say, you know what? Okay, for once, when I thought it was impossible that I wouldn't like this, like I wouldn't buy Marvel, look at DC come, I wouldn't, look, we got a long way to go, don't get me wrong, but you're seeing now more than ever. Hell, it's even indicative in the ticket sales of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. People are changing, man. And that's good, right? It's not going to be something that happens overnight because the infestation didn't happen overnight. This was a long process, and leftists played the long game with the entertainment industry, and now it's kind of coming to fruition, and you see what happens when they do play the long game. Same thing can be said, though I think with the advancement of technology, it'll happen way faster than what it did in the past, but the same thing can be said that it's not going to be an overnight thing that happens. It's not going to be one successful comic book away from, alternative comic book away from dethroning Marvel. That's just not going to happen, okay? It's going to take some time. But there's plenty of reasons to be excited and optimistic. Look at ISOM. Look at these other alternatives in comic books. Look at what these guys, these like kind of independent or rather small film makers, and what it is that they're attempting to do. Say what you will about the Daily Wire, but they gave it a shot, right? That's what's necessary. And the more of that exists and is successful, which is going to require, yes, people having to kind of get out of their previous comfort zone and what they generally would support, and maybe saying, I'll give this a shot. And as more people do that, we'll get on the other side of this, guys. There's plenty of reasons. No reason to be moping around. Oh, man, it sucks. This character that I knew and loved, man, has been ran into the ground. This franchise has been ran into the ground. I know that sucks. But there's plenty of reason to be optimistic. You see what they've done to the industry. Let's take what they've bastardized and ran into the ground and make something anew. And I promise you, as we do that, more and more people, you're going to see a lot of diamonds in the rough. You're going to see people that have been around, that have given it a shot. You're going to see people that just popped up on the scene. And the true parallel economy will be built then. People's spirits will be up. And that's what I'm most excited about. When I see people get ISOM and they read that and they're like, man, I thoroughly enjoyed this, man. I read it in one sitting. I loved it. I'm waiting for more. Like, that to me is what it's about, because that's a person that's excited for something, getting something out of it. And it's not about politics. Y'all know I hate politics.